Still, the Chamberlain family will not bear responsibility for you. But if I do not want it, can I say excellent? As there is no will in flowers, so the lady should not have it either. It is sad to live your life, abandoning desires. Hearing Irene's answer, Erica smiled barely noticeably. She asked, "So you fascinated Lady Chamberlain?" The girl turned around and asked a question. "What do you want?" "I will not obey my father's greed and will follow my will." "You made a worthless choice. He will only entail suffering," Rin asked with all his seriously. "Do you really think so? What is really worthless and painful is not to know yourself. I will become the unfortunate if I deny what I want to do. If you help me, I will show you what the will of flowers is." The only daughter from the Defalasian family, Lady Eric. She was the main villain and bride of Crown Prince. In the novel, she always mocked Claudia forever. She did something with the saddle, which caused the fall. I bribed the maid, which pushed Claudia into the river. I dismissed rumors and much more. She used anyways. Lucas knew, but only watched. Because of this, the series became dependent on him. He dealt with Erica when she decided to kill Claudia. No matter how you look, she played the same role as Martin. They are the characters who used, and then threw it out. However, now Claudia asked all the main characters. And he lives without leaving the estate. There is no reason for bullying. Erica did this with Close because of jealousy to Lucas. What I know for sure, she greatly longed for the place of the Empress. So her goal was power? But the authorities only wanted her family. And Eric herself was not particularly interested in this. She became a doll that was used for the sake of family honor. For Erica, which grew up in such words, these words were enough. The girl smiled. Interest was able to awaken in it. The next day, the man turned to the crown prince. "I heard that you advanced the engagement of the ambassador of the kingdom of Krutia, Count Tiba, and the daughter of the Defalasian family. This is true?" Lucas asked with suspicion. "Duke, what is such a question? No matter how small the kingdom of Krutia may be, until now, it has been in friendly relations with the empire. You need to choose a daughter from the corresponding kind into the bride. If this is an installation of friendly relations, is it not better to select a beautiful lady? Count Tib will not want a gift that is difficult to manage." The words of the Duke Defalasian really make sense. Sending an aristocrat from the empire to wives is not the best way out. Do they raise such worthless conversations at the meeting? Yes. If the Duke is involved in this, then it is possible. But who then took the Duke himself into this business? Suddenly, Lucas met with the Duke of Benjamin. However, he only smiled and shrugged guiltily. Kronprinz tensed. "Duke Lemberg, do you have something to say? Since none of you agree with this decision, I will personally choose a beauty that will appeal to Count Thibaut," the embittered Lucas answered. "If this is your will, nothing can be done." After the meeting, Lucas angrily grabbed Benjamin by the breasts. He stared at the furious crown prince. Lemberg said, "Didn't I say to think before starting?" Lucas shouted loudly, "Shut up! You spoiled everything completely!" Where does such confidence come from that it was me who is to blame for everything? And who, if not you, could put defalation to this decision? This is your hobby, to interfere with diligent work. Thank you for so highly appreciated by my abilities. But, as for me, this business does not seem particularly interesting. And did you really work on it so hard? I also believed that she would enter the Chamberlain family as an adopted daughter. And why did they only adopt such a worthless parasite? People from this family will be broken out if it concerns Claudia's desire. Recently, the stupid behavior of the Count causes gossip. If she asks for a marriage, he will find a country in which such marriages are allowed. Kronprinz shuddered. "You have very vile jokes." The Duke smiled innocently. "Do you think there is? What to joke about? Their family will lose authority, and they will laugh at them all their lives. He so appreciates the happiness of his daughter that even this is endured." Lucas asked. "What? Is it Irene, or how is she there? What witch?" Lemberg answered. "This is impossible. She is the ordinary daughter of Viscount. Claudia has changed beyond recognition because of that girl." "You already guess why Defalation spoke out," Lucas said. "Surely because of the place of the bracket. Then, you also know that this is connected with Lady Defalation?" The prince froze. "Really? It cannot be. Do you really think so?" Lucas said. "The Duke would not have performed. Do not touch this, Erica. Nothing is impossible. All probabilities need to be taken into account. There are people with such innate talents. Is there a talent to repent in front of others? Greatness, despair, and faith are outstanding talents. One word that hit the strings of the soul can call for action. It is easy to manage people if they stimulate their feelings. Lucas looked at Lemberg. It looks like you very much. Speaking about the differences, Lady Amber is sincerity. Is this called an unprocessed precious stone? And it was I who found this beautiful unprocessed stone. Seeing him, I want to process it as I wish, and then break before he falls into the wrong hands. Kronprint was shocked. Well, of course you have tastes. Please respect them just as I respect you. Who are you to ask me, Kronprint, respect? I know that you do not have the opportunity to enjoy your hobbies. I have an interesting plan. Do not want to listen? Lucas asked. Have you already surrendered about Claudia? He answered. Number we now have a common goal in the person of Lady Amber. Lucas began to listen to the plan. Touch a person's feelings, which immediately part from the only touch. Meanwhile, the Chamberlain family went with Rin in the palace. Irene said, Sorry that I did not warn in advance. I could not even imagine that you can be familiar. From now on, first tell me. I'm worried about you. Suddenly, Collegies frowned. Are you closer to her than with me? This is simply impossible. Only Claudia is my man. So? The aristocrat turned offended. Is it true? Suddenly, Felix approached Rin, asking, But what about me? Irene answered joyfully, Of course you are also my person. The head of the Chamberlain family, frowning, listened to their dumbness. Then he sighed sharply, speaking, Prosts like children. Satisfied, Felix turned to his father. Can you call it that? Hugo answered displeasedly. I have a mouth, so why not? The guy said. Is it true? Try it, father answered. First, release the lady. Father tried to squeeze something out of himself, but to no avail. In general, go faster. Reception has already begun 100 years ago. Satisfied Irene with red cheeks answered. Fine. At the reception, Rin met Eric, who called out to her. Lady Amber, don't you want to live with me? Irene froze in shock. Suddenly, the brown-haired woman blocked the road by embittered cobs. The aristocrat said sharply, She does not want it all. Sorry. I would like to listen in more detail about the will of flowers. Does the flower have value if it is not beautiful at all? There is nothing to worry about if the flower is not beautiful, Eric answered with a sad tone. However, as expected, suddenly she blossomed a bright smile, saying, I got. Irene was surprised. God, Erica smiled, looking at me. Claudia tried to keep the girl in full. Rin, don't get fooled! Erica smiled. If so, can I call you Irene? It is forbidden. Why are you talking about what you only know too? Wait, what is a strange situation? This is not the development of events. Where does the villain mock the heroine to get me? But this time everything is wrong. The current Klings are completely different. Irene lives at the Chamberlain estate, right? Can I come to her a little to have fun? Cleetes were categorically against. Don't come. They will drive you away, Lady Erica clarified. But I asked Irene. However, Claudia was adamant, answering, I am the mistress of the house, Defilation said. Then I can invite her to my estate? The aristocrat screamed, It is forbidden. Do you think I will let her go? Even if you do not allow, there are many other ways to bring it. Returning to the estate, Irene went to the hall with gifts. If you think about it, after that nothing else happened, apart from the fact that I fainted due to lack of air. However, something unusual confused the girl. She turned her head. Why do all the servants look at me with such curiosity? They have long fed me, put me, dress, and amuse me. So why do they look so happy, as if they were not tired of? As if I had become a pet of the estate of Chamberlain. Suddenly, Irene was seriously thought. Is there a difference? Felix appeared in front of a girl from nowhere. I came. The brown-haired woman waved his hand sluggishly. Welcome, master. The man was surprised at such an appeal, asking Rin. She answered, Nothing. Why are you so hastily entering? They didn't even remove the mantle, he said. The Duke Lemberg asked me about a personal meeting with you. The surprised Irene froze in surprise. Duke? Me? I refused. But then I thought that it was better to convey to you first. I heard that the Duke rules the city of pristine chaos, Carlyle. As far as I know, you have no contact points. Perhaps you met on your family debt. This was not. However, he definitely has a hidden motive. He examined me very carefully at the reception. Felix supported her. This is really suspicious. A minute later, Rin made a decision. I will meet him once. The man asked with concern. Everything will be fine? the brown-haired woman answered unreservedly. In any case, we are at an impasse. Handing through his hands, Felix said. Then I will go with you. Irene froze, looking at the guy. Clores boasted that you hugged her. You hug her several times. But why don't you want to do it with me? Felix smiled and asked directly. Hug me? The girl's heart clogged loudly in her chest, not allowing to answer. This is completely against the rules. She jumped into the hands of Felix. Being very close to the girl's face, he said. Caught. Even if someone offers you to treat you, you can't follow him. Rin was taken aback. You just looked at me so strangely. The guy laughed and answered. It looks like you noticed this, the girl asked. This question mark Felix immediately dismissed. Suddenly, the man asked a question. And what about the kiss? The dumbfounded Irene immediately blushed, asking. Enough! If you are going to mock me, then let go. While Rin was desperately breaking out, Felix answered. Don't want. There is a high probability that the Duke organized an attempt on you, Irene thought, after which she answered. I thought so. The Duke of Lemberg has a wonderful and sensitive intuition. When everyone found the words of Kaloga with a joke, he realized that she was sincere. He wanted to quickly deal with you until it's too late. Turn the sprouts before they grow. In the Duke's manner, do I need to meet a person who is trying to kill me? Standing in front of the door, Felix answered thoughtfully. Like that. The girl pulled the door handle, saying, Well, let's go. Inside, smoking incense, the Duke of Lemberg awaited them. He smiled. Already came? You before I thought. The guests noticed that the entire office was filled with smoke. Rin coughed, thinking, What is this smoke in the room? Suddenly, a hand arose in front of her, from which fresh air was walking. Frowning, Felix spoke. Please stop there. Irene was very surprised. Did Felix use magic now? The Duke brought incense to the ring from which the flame appeared. How to be? I already lit a fire, and there is nowhere to even extinguish. Felix frowned again, being dissatisfied with such behavior. He waved his hand, about to create a spell. The room was doused with a stream of air, exposing the smoke and carcassing incense. The guy asked in a serious tone, Is that enough? The world is full of medicinal herbs. Be more careful. Maybe then we'll sit down? I heard you called me. For what purpose? The absolutely calm Duke spoke. Nothing special. I called you so that we would get along very well. Perhaps you do not know what it means to get along well? If you speak sincerely, then remove this strange aroma. How? But other ladies usually really like it, Irene said. At first glance, you may seem beautiful, she wrinkled. But your mouth is just terribly caring. There was an awkward pause, during which Felix laughed. He hardly tried to restrain himself, covering his face with his hand. The Duke was thinking about to answer this custody. He smiled, saying, What ignorant things are you saying? If you are intentionally trying to hurt me, then do not be afraid. I will not kill you. What should I do to like the lady? Irene began to mumble. Lemberg said, Feel free. A ban on approaching me by at least 10 meters? If you sit there, I will be very grateful to you. The Duke drew attention to the next laugh from Felix. The joyful guy said only one thing. That means how. Forgive me if you brought you any inconvenience. But in my own way, I tried to take care of Lady Amber. Irene asked right there. What else is the care? Posthumous? Just a lady should also get used to this smell. Understanding nothing, Rin said. What do you mean? The man answered. Who knows? She thought. Behave properly. Since you have no intention of talking, I will say about the purpose of my visit, she said loudly and clearly. Give up about Claudia. Admit confidently, after which you are confidently rejected. It is possible. Then we will meet you again. The Duke smiled, thinking, I don't need your advice. Irene was at the limit. Believe me, it will be much better, Lemberg answered. A good offer, but I don't like it. I also did not come for this. I'm here to give you a chance, Rin said. A chance not to meet the worst end with Claudia. It seems that the worst in my and your understanding differs. The worst for you is that I can't win the heart of Claudia? It would not be bad to get her heart, but I do not want much. I just hope that the very worst will not happen. Irene asked, What does the worst mean in your understanding? Removing a smile from his face, the man said, Forever losing Claudia. The girl asked, Do you really want to get her body? You understood everything. If I have a body, then the soul will follow it. Make statements that cannot be ignored. If someone is going to take possession of her against her will, I will not sit back, and no matter who is my opponent. If you have nothing more to say, then we are leaving. The Duke asked, Is it so unpleasant for you? What are the questions? Do not call us anymore because of this. Lemberg answered, I don't remember I invited you. I would also like you to call Irene anymore. Felix held out his hand to the girl, calling. She obeyed. I would like to become the first to realize the value of the lady. You were not particularly noticeable, so I would not have guessed. I was sincere when I said that I wanted to get closer to you. But, unfortunately, you have to leave a person like you, Irene asked with genuine interest. Such as me? A precious stone, exhausting a different color depending on processing. It would be so entertaining. I find you a little earlier. I love gambling, but I do not get involved in the victory without a chance. Knowing that nothing will work out, I called you out of curiosity. My warning and the last invitation is the last chance for the lady. The Duke smiled. Why did I not know about you all this time? I do not remember ordinary things without value, but I do not forget what I have already seen. Have you not looked at me with a sad look before? Even when did I set fire to a cigarette? Irene frightened. The Duke continued. You have changed a few years ago, as if you have become a completely different, new person. The brunette thought for a look at Rin. Or has your taste changed? Irene was nervous, but still answered. You are mistaken, and I believed that my eyes could see the hidden desires. But now I see in your eyes only anger and disgust. I just want to tear them out. From this phrase, the girl tensed. Suddenly, an air blade flew along next to the Duke's head. Turning around, he saw the cut back of his chair. Felix stood in front of the man, turning. Your mightiness, I said that we are standing. He barely restrained himself. Lemberg only said, It seems that the sofa has completely worn out. Then he turned to Irene again. There she shuddered, listening. These are the eyes of a hypocrite who hides his hidden desires. In fact, he is the same monster as I am. I have hidden desires. Will there be people without them? I have already heard. You love money. It's nice to see an honest person. In fact, no matter how we have a wealthy chamberlain. Are they so rich as me? Lady Amber, how do I like me? Rin answered confidently. Perhaps the first motive was money. However, even if they go bankrupt, I will stay with them. The Duke said, You will regret it. But the girl said, Not at all. Lemberg paused, thinking about her unexpected words. Then he grinned, answering with a trick. Understood. I will tear off the shell of nobility from the hypocrite with my own hands. Suddenly, Irene proudly stood in front of the Duke. Try it. I am determined to accept anything, whatever it is. After a while, Rin and Felix returned to the estate. The worried girl turning to the guy. The invariably joyful chamberlain answered her call. She closed her eyes from a bright smile. Are you not angry? Not at all. You did a great job. Cut things the same way. Wasn't it worth us to come to at least some compromise? Felix smiled and firmly gave a negative answer. It is better to become a demon than to compromise with him. A few hours later, ships went with purchases in her hands. Rin was in shock. Felix and servants with packages followed her. Suddenly, all this flew to Irene with shouts. Take everything! The girls, trembling and littered with gifts, could not move. She turned to Claudia, asking, What is it all? Cleces and Felix pointed to a huge cake. Happy birthday! The shocked brown-haired woman asked. Birthday? Having jumped, Irene smiled broadly and thanked them. Claudia immediately cried out, Rin, you are so beautiful! These shoes, which it seemed to me, will suit you. And this hat. And a set of evening dress and handbags. As soon as I saw him, I ordered it to buy it for you. And also we decided to hire a personal designer for you. Crouching in front of her, the series were imposed. Do you like it? For some reason, it seems that she is glad even more than me. Satisfied, Irene began to answer. Of course I like it. But then she stumbled, seeing the huge price of one dress. On this occasion, I wanted to create your own brand. I even came up with a name for him. Renee! Rin began to calm her. Obviously, she removed the first syllable of my name. There are already enough gifts. Look better at this. Clores asked. Kamoli? For the first time I see this area, Irene answered. This is an island in Kelau, in the south of the empire. In the marked places, the presence of independent spirits is suspected. Have you heard anything about this island at all? I heard that thousands of years ago, when the underworld opened. This island was used as a pass. He was crowded with evil spirits. Suddenly, she spoke Tings. I heard that the laws do not act there. This is a special region, in the affairs of which other countries do not interfere. Right. However, they say that now no one is coming to the island. Claudia asked with interest. Nobody comes? If people lived there, merchants would come there. However, there the earth is exhausted, self-sufficiency is impossible. The island of Kamoli is a special area of the Penelo trading group. But at some point, Penelo banned the entrance to outsiders. Irene added, there is a rumor that the earth exhausted by agriculture. It became sharply fruitful and densely covered with forest. Closa, dumbfounded by information, looked at the brown-haired woman. With 100% probability on this earth, there is an independent spirit. Judging by the emerging image, the spirit will be unusual. The difficulty is how to get to the island. Irene immediately heard the question. And what, in fact, is the problem? Claudia and Felix said in unison. You can just buy it. Clore said. It was just annoying me because of my birthday gift. Now is summer, so it will be great to go to rest on the island. This is the best way, but if you're talking about rest, what's the heart? Rin, smiling, thought, oh, these diamond spoons. Clisses laughed. And we will figure out the spirit along the way. To the island the path is not. How far can you get with magic? If we want to hide the path to the island, it is better not to use magic. The brown-haired woman decided to clarify with surprise. Why is it? The magic used by the magicians of the ministry is recorded in records. Rin asked. To prevent abuse of magic? Right. The ministry teaches gifted children. Their everyone is extremely good. They even implant artifacts containing different magic in their hands. This is necessary in order to understand what magic is used. Irene asked again. And the magic of air flows? To blow up if necessary. It's just like explosives. They are implanted. Because magicians are not able to use magic without hands. Even if you use a teleport, the coordinates will be recorded. And all the information will immediately reach the ears of His Highness. Claudia squeezed the dress upset. Felix said, don't worry. Even if you stay, you can use one trick. With explosive magic, he cut the stone statue in half. The principle is the same as the air conditioning. It has no great power. Rin cried out. Then what is the point of implanting artifacts? Smiling cunningly, the guy answered, not everyone is capable of it. The girls were in shock, so only Felix can do that. Is there any way to remove these artifacts? For a few seconds, the man thought about. Having gone into himself, suddenly he smiled and solemnly declared, there is a way. An hour later, Rin asked, Sings, how do you communicate with men? The girl froze sharply and thought, I just say? Is there any special way to communicate with men? How do you usually make a conversation with the opposite sex? The aristocrat said. It just somehow comes out. Irene jerked from such an answer. Well, how else? You too, chatting at ease with your brother? Or maybe you have the one who really like it? The brown-haired woman immediately answered. No, just, it seems to me, a good person. Claudia cried out in shocking, asking, a good person? She immediately crouched, wondering, what is this young man? He just seemed good to me, so she wanted to make friends with him. The aristocrat fell into a second shock, asking, seemed good? She began to wave her hands, screaming, who is this? Who is our Rin? At that moment, Claudia called out a familiar voice. The girl glanced displeasedly, asking, who is at such an important moment? Felix went to them. Such an appeal grieves me. Mother calls you. Cologis was surprised, but she did not argue, slowly rising. She again turned to Rin. Let's talk soon, necessarily. After that, Shustra went to the palace. Irene called out a joyful man. Felix, have you come back? He looked at the smiling Rin and answered. Yes, I returned. The girl spoke. Exactly, about the Penelo trading group. Did they create a trading group to buy the whole island? At that time, one guy shouted, give the island to us! All residents were shocked by such a request. But not for long. It turned out to be an extremely profitable deal for both parties. Everything turned out to be too simple. From the very beginning, their goal was money. And it was so difficult to create a fake trading group and hire people. What if a trading group refuses to sell it? If this reaches the ears of the crown prince, everything will come to an end, she asked. Why create a goet if they knew that everything would turn so? Felix answered. The goal was not only to buy an island. Irene laughed out loud as soon as she heard the guy's words. Suddenly, he clicked the girl. So who is this person? Rin froze and then blushed, slowly asking. But Felix only silently looked at her, waiting for an answer. The brown-haired woman froze and hesitated, not knowing where to start. Irene did not dare to answer for a long time. His Highness is the second prince. Felix pulled Rin's inflatable circle, clarifying. The second prince? Caught in the face of a man, the brown-haired woman blushed again. What do you mean, saying that you want to get closer to him? Irene looked away. I just would like to persuade him to our side. At a second, Chamberlain's gaze sharply and terribly became colder. But then he again broke into a smile, answering, That's how. I will not stop you, but do not behave recklessly. And could you give me the time when you finish swimming? Rin immediately agreed, and she remembered Felix's cold gaze. Half an hour later, Irene sat in an office with Felix and Hugo. The girl immediately turned to the guy. What is happening here? He whispered back. It seemed that you have a plan. It is better to share information and go for cooperation, right? Suddenly, Hugo slammed the book loudly, striking the girl. Are you ready? I heard about plans for the future from beginning to end. Firstly, I want to keep it secret from Close, so as not to hurt her. But doesn't it hurt it stronger that we keep everything in secret? This is possible, but the Coates are sincere and simple, so he does before he thinks. So you need to tell everything with the prudence. Although I myself do not know what, in fact, is the matter, Felix said. Now we will explain everything, so do not be angry. Irene, can I tell me? The girl happily agreed. After the story of Hugo, he swore an embittered word. He seems to be going to abandon the human essence. Irene asked in surprise. So you believed me? His behavior is too alarming. It's hard not to believe it. Crown Prince was angry that he could not see the Close, and then he suddenly calmed down. Suddenly, he turned from His Highness into a Crown Prince. Rin decided to clarify one moment with Hugo. And since when? The man answered. From the celebration in honor of the foundation of the country. At first, Irene grinned, realizing when this time came. Then she frowned. So these morons conspired. 100%. I don't know if this will help, but we are able to predict their actions. He is going to immerse the world in chaos because the girl refused to him? For the first time in my life, I see such a disgusting leader. I'll add it again. Demonic relic in the form of a bow, which I saw in the prophecy, the most powerful and dangerous thing in the world. At the moment, it is stored in one great temple. And the name of the demon who seized his name Laraja in this relic. Irene asked Felix, Do you know what this demon is? The guy grunted and put his fingers to the chin, thinking. He said only one thing. Laraja is a demon of battles and victory. Then the guy looked at his father and said, Everything will be fine. In order? You want to say that you will sacrifice yourself? Hugo roared sharply. Do not say such an unusual nonsense. These words mean that you will compose the power of the demon. Are you out of your mind? Felix answered quietly. There is no other way out. Even if you will be unharmed, you will be overshadowed. The holy court will overtake you. A demon will absorb you or not. In any case, you will be a traitor. Your whole family will also be at risk. Need a different way. Number? It is impossible to become known that we received a prophecy. Hugo stood and asked in despair. Then what should we do? They do not know that I developed resistance to magic. Felix smiled slightly and began to tell his father a plan. An hour later, Irene knocked in the greenhouse, entering inside. The mother of the Kemberlin family immediately greeted the girl. Hello, Madame Olivia. Have you spent the day well? The wife of Count Hugo, who, due to frequent diseases, rarely leaves the room. Even in the novel, it was described only as a sick mother and did not appear in the plot. I did not meet with you, so the day was rather sad. In fact, she is a bright and cheerful person. But now I have seen you, and the day has become good again. The exhausted Klings turned to Rin. She asked, Everything is fine? The sluggish Claudia answered. Yes, but what about my brother? Irene did not know how to answer. Let's just say it grabs the first number. Mother and daughter were simultaneously surprised and stared at Rin. But the father never in life raised his hand on us. Olivia got angry, clutching her hand in a fist. This bastard! I'll show him! She immediately got up from her wheelchair. Rin said, But please do not be too strict. Toward evening, Irene examined the bruises on Felix's face. Your beautiful face. And why only had to say this? When the guy grinned, The girl pulled him by the cheek. Rubbing his face, the guy asked guiltily, "Are you angry?" Irene cried out, "Certainly! How can you say that? How can you say that you are not scared, even in the face of death?" Seeing the girl's pursed lips, the guy asked, "Are you crying?" The brown-haired woman turned away, wiping her tears. "How annoying! Sorry. But Irene, I did not say that I would die." Without changing the positive expression on his face, he said, "Consider that I am already dead. To be more accurate, I put it like that." The brown-haired woman shouted angrily, "Here! This is one and the same!" She calmed down. "Consider you dead as you ask. You will lose your status, reputation, and glory. Without even doing anything bad, you will live like a dead man, constantly hiding." Realizing what he subscribed to, Felix said, "Yes, something like that." Irene flashed, "Can I hit you once, please?" "Don't worry. For me, status and so on have no value. After all, for every person they are their own. I do not consider it a victim, and I do not at all make efforts to what does not bear values for me. I am more rational and selfish than you think." Rin asked, "And what value do you pursue?" The guy smiled innocently, asking, "Don't you know?" "Felix, you are true. Nevertheless, you need to look for another way." He looked at the thoughtful girl, asking, "Which? How about killing them before they do something?" "I know that this is impossible. Do not make such a face." She opened the jar, saying, "I'd better give you a medicine." The girl held out her hand, on the finger of which the cream was applied. "A minute. You can be healed yourself, isn't it?" "I thought that, thanks to this, the father would move away as soon as possible." Rin answered, "Then you yourself are treated." She began to remove her hand. Suddenly, Felix approached her. "Could you treat me?" Again the mouth with a triangle. "Are you nervous again?" The embarrassed and reddened Irene answered, "Steam." The girl handed over and said displeasedly, "Okay, I will smear. Drive such a beautiful face. Are you uncomfortable? Spread your back. Everything is fine with me. I know how to stay better than anyone." Irene answered uncertainly, "But I asked you not to restrain you," Felix said. "Let me only this time. I'm sorry." Rin said, "You should not smile like that." Then answered, "You are so strict." A dark night fell on the estate of the Chamberlain family. Suddenly, Claudia woke up. She really wanted to drink. She set fire to the candle and headed towards the kitchen. Suddenly, in front of her, she discovered the corpse of the servant. Seeing bloodied bodies, the girl screamed, "Is there anyone here? Father! Mother!" She found the corpses of her parents in the bedroom. Claudia flew into Felix's room, striking him. Suddenly, the girl shuddered and froze when she saw her brother. He stood alive, all covered in blood, saying, "Without a trace." He repeated, "Kill your family members without a trace." The guy looked at Claudia. His pupils were red. The frightened girl asked, "Who are you?" But he rushed to her. Irene jumped in bed, in cold sweat, panting. Rubbing her face, she asked herself, "What was this dream?" The servant knocked on the door. "Lady Amber, if you woke up, go have breakfast." Rin immediately answered, and she tried to move away from the nightmare. She tried to slowly get out of bed, supporting her hand. Touching the door handle, the girl stopped and froze. She stood in one pose for several seconds, not daring to go out. Before her eyes, there was still a terrible picture from sleep. "Surrounding up from series," Rin asked. "Where is Felix and adults?" She answered. "Father and brother left early, and mother is still sleeping. Maybe we buy a cruise ship? They would travel the whole family. How great! We all live on the island all together." Suddenly, Claudia asked, "Rin, did something happen? I would not really like to talk about this in the morning, but—" "Klotz, please do not be scared and listen to me." Closer to dinner, the sky was covered with dark clouds, and rain began. At this time, Felix read a letter holding in his hands. Clutching him, he frowned and said, "Finally, time has come." The worried Irene was inquired, "Will you really go?" "Everything is fine. Do not worry so much for me." Wearing his snow-white mantle, Felix said goodbye to the girl. Lightning hit another estate. Someone spoke. "Isn't it hard for you? Why do you suffer so steadfastly? Even I feel painful looking at you. You will be absorbed soon, so your actions are in vain." Felix scored angrily towards his opponent. Suddenly, his heart was very painful in his chest. The Duke Lemberg smiled, enjoying this sight. Looking at the bloodied guy, he said, "Awesome picture." Suddenly, someone laid a hand on Benjamin's shoulder, nullifying. You, as always, waste time on useless things. The Duke answered, Do not interfere with my only hobby. I'll go. Finish with your terrible hobby and come. Do you want to preterminate before meeting with Claudia? He was immediately shut up. Suddenly, Felix began to create a spell, clutching his hand. With one movement, he sent a lightning stream to the Duke's ankle. The man in black knelt down, examining the damage. Felix gave Lemberg a deaf and barely expressive laugh. And you are more temperate than I thought. Yes, you use magic. Sir Constantine, my leg fall off now. Could you heal it? The long-haired man only looked away, refusing. The Duke said, Our union is no good, so we'll not go. Have you just come to you now? Similar was impossible from the very beginning. Constantine said, I help you for the first and last time. How? I will not stop until I get Claudia. If you want to finish, you can leave. I will not interfere. Thanks to you from today, my principles are completely destroyed. You yourself decided to join us. Why is this anger? Getting his fiery ring, the Duke said. There is nothing to be done. I forgive you for turning my leg into a useless rag. Felix, with an arrow in his shoulder, tried to squeeze his hand. The guy waved his hand in an attempt to hit Lemberg, but he bounced. Because of this attempt, blood Chamberlain went out of his mouth. If you continue to use magic, die from shock. I know a great way that can muffle the pain. He inserted a cigarette into the mouth of Felix. Inhale deeply and exhale. The guy did everything as it was said and immediately coughed. If you breathe smoke, the pain will disappear for some time. Enough in order to give the family a will, and the one who captivates your heart. Felix drew attention to these words. You guessed that if you commit suicide, the demon will absorb you. Isn't it better to talk first and then calmly die? You should get used to it. The Duke took out a new cigarette. You can die. I'm sorry that I did not make so far. I wonder if the lady will say the same as the last time. What did she say there? It seems to be said she carries from her mouth. Lemberg got up, leaving Felix with cigarettes and a ring. I'll meet me if possible. Sir Constantine, let's go. Two men turned around and silently headed for the exit. For a second, the clergyman turned to look at Felix. The Duke asked, You don't go? He replied that he was going. They closed the door, leaving the wounded guy alone. Felix watched and waited for him to be alone. He breathed heavily and closed his eyes for a second, gaining strength. Then he smiled. Blood flowed down his lips. The guy swore. Suddenly, a bright burning flame flashed in the middle of the night. The broken glasses of Felix lay on the ground unnecessary. Before that, the guy took with him a crystal of fiery magic. With this crystal, he set up the Duke's estate, leaving nothing. The bloodied Felix slowly got out into the street. Smiling, the demon spoke his lips. What a refreshing feeling! Where should I go? With these words, he left the estate. A little later, Irene was sleeping peacefully, surrounded by plush toys. At that moment, some figure hung over her. The girl felt someone's presence and woke up. In front of Rin stood silent and bloody Felix. Without saying anything, he pulled a hand to the frightened girl. Why are you hesitating? I know all your hidden desires. Irene uncertainly tried to call for Felix, looking at him. But, contrary to the threatening look, the guy stroked her head. Having lit up Rin with a bright smile, the man said, I'm back. The guy's questioning gaze, the brown-haired woman began to pinch herself. This is not a dream. In front of me is true a real Felix. Suddenly she cried out, Minute! What kind of look? So much blood! Rin was blown up and began to examine the guy. Are you all right? Everything is fine, so stop me, please feel. The demon mentally tried to seduce a man, but to no avail. A little earlier, before the Duke's estate was destroyed, Felix, sitting on the floor, heard a strange voice in his head. I can't believe it. As soon as he lived a little more than 20 years, but magical forces still remained. Are you Archmage? For a simple person, impressive. The guy drove a cigarette. The demon served. Are you listening? But Felix did not pay attention to him. He grabbed the arrow tightly, wanting to pull it out of the shoulder. With one jerk, the damned artifact was outside. If you give me half of my bodies and souls, I will give you strength. Such that you, a little man, cannot even imagine. Well, is it not tempting? Felix answered nothing. He literally led the demon out of his temper. Do not ignore me. Instead, the man tried to put on his glasses, covering his eyes. The demon said, There is nothing to be done. Well, how do you like my strength? Felix's glasses cracked. And this is not the limit. Do you realize? Answer! Having discarded the broken accessory, the man tried to rise. The demon did not retreat. Do you ignore me again? Archmage! Have you developed the resistance of magic all your life, or what? Okay, half is too much? How about a third? Quarters? Felix said. Finish chat, the head hurts. The demon was delighted. The guy asked, Laraja? Right. Since you guessed, the conversation will be short. In my power to give you everything that you ask. I want you to just calmly sleep inside me, Laraja answered. Have you specially let me in? And how I was enclosed in the body of such a crazy. Be careful with rude expressions inside me. The demon began to lose his temper. Listen carefully, Archmage. Do you know what spell on this arrow was launched? They were washed with their brains before they replaced me. You found yourself in this position, saved a girl who is not even relative to you. Isn't it a shame? Felix fell into a trap due to kindness. The guy answered, I only acted according to my beliefs. You are so kind that you even erased her memories. What an angel, Felix asked. There are no clothes? Laraja answered. Where would she come from? The guy was straightforward. You are useless. It angered a demon. Then Laraja said, completely driving. Don't you want to take revenge? I will deal with revenge myself, without borrowing the power of the demon. Revenge for not using magic. In any case, you will not get from me what you want. What a refreshing feeling, Laraja answered. Crazy. While Rin processed the wounds, he said, This is what happened. Why do you remain calm when this happened to you? The guy laughed guiltily and began to ask for forgiveness. Chamberlain thought, This is really Pico. Laraja, demon of battles and victory. Irene tried to bite a man. Everything is fine? The demon spoke. Can't you restrain yourself anymore? You want these eyes to look only at you. He silently came close to the girl. She looked questioningly. Do you want her to pray to you endlessly in pouring tears? Felix grabbed her by the shoulder and looked straight into her eyes. The brown-haired woman answered, not understanding what was happening. The guy squeezed the blanket, confidently turning to the girl. They sat on the bed and looked at each other for a few seconds. The guy said, Please leave my room, now I'm dangerous. Irene asked, Is this because of that demonic relic? She called to Felix. He shuddered, bulging his eyes. It doesn't matter to me at all how you have changed because of the relic. I said that you are you, so I am ready to go through hell. Your prosperous return brings me incredible joy. Everything is fine. The guy's hand shuddered while Rin was holding her. However, the guy only dismissed, suppressing his desires. Irene asked, Why do you avoid me? But Felix interrupted her. You are tired. So sorry that you woke up. Go to bed. What are you talking about? Do you think I can sleep in such a situation? Thank you for the treatment. We'll talk about the rest tomorrow. The girl did not stop. But you were so hurt so much. Can I look after you? Felix was already at the limit. In an unusually cold tone, he said, Go away, I ask you. From these words in the eyes of Irene, tears immediately performed. Winking, she answered, Fine. Then we'll talk tomorrow. Just in case, I will inform the family doctor about this. The girl closed the door, leaving an obsessed guy alone. Laraja gave a voice again. Are you not a man? Felix answered in a calm tone. Do you consider me a beast? I lived for thousands of years, but I see such a person for the first time. This is quite natural, so tie with your persuasion. Morning came. Sun rays began to make their way into the room. The birds sang outside the window. Laraja spoke. Man, get up! I have a great idea. This is about that girl. Let's conquer her, Felix answered. Are you about this again? It does not matter that you are innocent, because you have me. Inspecting himself, the guy answered. This is not necessary. I have existed for hundreds of billions of years and have owned skill. I stay with a person on the same wave. Without consent, I will not touch her with my finger. And I also doubt that this can be the subject of discussion. Seduce her and make her fall in love. Seduction, I say. You are a demon of love and pleasure, so tell me, where is love here? General love begins with physical contact. Felix looked in the mirror. An embittered face looked at him. Unpringing the bandages, the man said. I feel good. His body was without a single scratch. The demon continued to boast of his strength. It doesn't matter how much you keep me inside. As a result, we still merge together. You are very annoying. You seem to be bored. He answered. You locked me. Putting on a shirt, Felix said. Here, how noisy. I go out, so don't talk to me, Laraja agreed. Leaving the room, Felix turned his head and was surprised. The dozing Irene was sitting under the door, lowering her head. The girl sniffled peacefully, not paying attention to anything. Suddenly, she shuddered, slowly awakening from sleep. Irene, why are you sleeping here? Better go to your room. The dumbfounded brown-haired woman did not expect to see a man in front of her. Suddenly, the guy's tone changed to the threatening one. And get the door. Rin jerked, answering. Everything is fine. I already woke up. Since yesterday, the atmosphere around Felix has changed a lot. Is it because he is without glasses? And unexpectedly began to behave coldly, smiles less than before, and even avoids me. But the most important thing, it has become more attractive. What do I only think about when looking at a wounded person? Are you all right? Why do you look absolutely unharmed? I think I got better thanks to the demon. Please do not touch me, Rin answered. I was just surprised. Sorry. Suddenly she stumbled. Jumping out of a slipper, the girl began to fall with her back down. With a sharp movement, Felix grabbed Irene by the wrist. The brown-haired woman cried out from how strongly Felix squeezed her hand. The man himself did not expect this, and immediately let her go. He froze, asking, Are you okay? Rin confirmed. Irene rubbed her hand, asking, Is this also the power of the demon? The drooping Felix agreed to her guiltily, lowering his eyes. The brown-haired woman suddenly laughed. Do not worry, I was just surprised. Winking, she added, and do not go so far. A man who moved a few steps, according to answered. Some people start hamsters as pets. Just do not step on them. And gently stroke, Felix answered, bewildered. Let's start with treatment. It can be a fracture, so I will call a doctor. Rin thanked him, and I will make every effort so as not to harm anyone. It's okay. The doctor will cure a similar injury at the moment, the guy said. To say that everything is in order is a bad habit. Do not force me to assume that you will always be in order. After all, one day I can inflict a very heavy wound to you. Not a person with a perforated shoulder talk about it, Felix said. This does not concern you. But Irene continued. But you are also a completely innocent injured. You want to protect me from wounds, even sacrificing yourself? And me too. As water that cannot be gained, there are wounds that cannot be cured. Irene was positive. That's right, however. If it's you, I will not mind that you do not do with me. From such speeches, Felix bulged his eyes in surprise. If you knew what I think now, you would not say that, he added. I now restrain myself with all my might. What kind of desire that he cannot talk about? Does he want to kill me? Suddenly, he drew attention to the guy who began to cough. Having covered his mouth with his hand, the man restrained a dull cough. However, he could not stand it loudly with blood. Everything is fine, just the body rejects the relic. The frightened girl froze, asking, Is it not dangerous? The guy only stopped her, ordering her, Don't get close. Gladding blood, Felix was breathing heavily, looking at the floor. Then he jumped sharply, from which Irene flinched. Without saying anything, the man went away from the girl. Returning to his room, he slapped the door loudly. The guy returned as suddenly as he left. He held a saber in his hands. If I do something inappropriate, pierce me with this. The dumbfounded brown-haired woman, looking at the weapon, asked, Who to pierce? You, Felix answered. Then I will come to my senses. A minute later, they walked along the corridor to see their family. I thought that only you have wishes. But she likes you too? Laraja said. You were sure that she didn't like it, right? I feel all this because you are just an idiot. Felix grinned. Finish! My patience is the limit. Irene, frightened, asked, Did I do something wrong? The man realized the mistake and immediately began to reassure Rin. It's just that some fragment is constantly chatting with me. So again, disgrace me, and I will not leave it like that. Irene's questioning gaze, the demon agreed. The girl said, I am glad that you pretended to be dead. But under this pretext, those three can do things. The good news is that you no longer have an artifact in your shoulder. So now you may not be limited by magic, Felix answered. Irene, now I can't use it. She shuddered and asked, dumbfounded. What did you just say? Every time I use mana, Laraja penetrates deeper. The brown-haired woman, not understanding anything, asked, What does it mean? Will you understand if I say that this eats my life force? The girl presented this picture, saying, I understand very well. All people who may be have Manu. Only the quantity differs. If an ordinary person has mana the size of a glass, then I have a estate. Therefore, I survived, even when La Raja entered me. Despite the fact that I lost a lot of mana, an ordinary person has low resistance. He would have lost Manu and died. All mana is constantly consumed and produced, but I feel like a way out for the mana produced. Nevertheless, I will not die. Felix tried to smile. Irene, in full shock, listened to his story, frozen with an open mouth. It is enough that I simply will not use magic. If I use it, then the fragments of the soul are influenced by the demon. I put all my strength to control instincts. But if I lose my mind, then be sure to pierce me. After that, he lowered his head and invited Rin to go forward. Irene's consent, the man opened the doors, going inside. The whole family gathered in front of him, including Mother. The worried Claudia turned around and cried out, "Brother!" The guy smiled slightly, answering her greeting. The girl immediately rushed to the guy. He held out his hands. She immediately pressed herself against him, looking deep into her eyes. But something happened that no one expected. A slap was heard. With a cold look, Claudia hit Felix on the cheek. Irene was most surprised, not understanding the behavior of Kaloga. Hugo and Olivia were also shocked by the behavior of the daughter. She froze without removing her hand, continuing to look at her brother. A pause came, during which no one dared to say something. Suddenly, Irene called out the cow. But she finally took the word. "The rumor is distributed that you have died. It is necessary to hold a funeral. Your reputation is so good that people themselves arrange a wake. Should I congratulate you?" Claudia began to cry. "I understand what could be worse, and that you made every effort. Look at what position you are. I am so angry with myself." Felix tried to calm her. "Klotz, this is not your fault." "I know. However, the fact that I could not help you." Felix abruptly fell to his knees in front of his sister, trying to console. Irene, with a saber in her hands, nervously grunted, worried. Then she suddenly cried out, "Therefore I prepared." "Attention!" 4 pairs of eyes fixed their eyes on her. She spoke. "How about a summer trip to the island?" The next day, the time has come for the rehearsal of the funeral of Felix. The whole family in black robes stood in front of a coffin of black wood. Everyone had drooping faces. Irene lowered her gaze. It is impossible to allow those 3 to learn that Felix is alive. The first is a moron. The second is a man with an ingenuity. I don't know about the third. "Klotz, do you know how to play a crying person?" The girl thought. "Don't even know. I'll try now." Claudia began to cry very playfully, removing a tear. "Number she will be very probable. Maybe it is better to resent? You are angry with Felix for sacrificing himself, and be angry with your impotence and what? That they knew nothing about his intentions. If the brother died, would I behave like that? There is no law that a person must be sad. Make a look that he really died, and you can never see him again." Claudia smiled. "Thank you. I think I understood a little," Irene said, satisfied with the answer. "God bless. I wish Felix I saw it. Could he imagine that, the whole hall and the road to the grave? Will everything be covered with the flowers of people who have come to honor his memory?" A voice was heard. "He necessarily watches this from heaven." The girls turned around. Kronprince Lucas was heading for them. So many people mourn about his death. His path will not be bored. He lived with dignity and surrounded everyone with love. God will show his favor. "Am I right, Sir Constantine?" Lemberg turned his head. The clergyman answered, "Refrain from such statements. Why did you get behind me? I have a conversation to Claudia, so fall off." The Duke immediately stated, "I don't want." Irene looked at them in bewilderment. "I see what you think, so I can't stand aside." An irritated Kronprince answered, "Take your hands from me. Maybe you will stop interfering and lag behind me? You should not run over. Act secretly very mean." Lucas answered displeasedly, "Not for you to talk about it." The Duke said, "Then today I just watch. Sir Constantine, maybe at least you will leave?" He refused. "Hear the devils. Even out of the corner of my ear, they do not want to listen to me." He really is a goat, but still unexpectedly. That they came to the funeral, putting on a formal shape. But my goosebumps run away from the thought that they came here, being killers. Irene drew attention to how Claudia stepped forward. Grounding and clenching her hand into a fist, she rushed forward. The dumbfounded brown-haired woman guessed that she wanted to make cow. She ran to the crown prince and hit him in the face with all her might. The blow was so powerful that the guy spat with blood. Stunned guards cried out, "Your Highness!" In shock were Hugo with Claudia. They understood that it was treason. Unable to hold equilibrium, Lucas fell, covering his mouth. Are you okay? We will call a doctor for you right now. Enough! Do not pay attention and leave here. How dare you show your impudent face here? Still holding on his face, the crowned sailing turned to the aristocrat. Claudia, now you are looking at me. He rushed to the girl. That's why I asked to meet only together. You are affectionate as always. You gave me a reason. Nobody will reproach me if I am a brooch in jail. They thought that I would not find out who exactly killed my brother. If you knew but still did this, I will assume that you agree, that you accept my contempt and hatred. I do not ask you for anything. Smiling viciously, Lucas answered, I will be happy to accept this. To forgive me or not is no difference, but remember this day well. After all, you must understand who can become the following. Be careful. Kronprint did not hesitate to say everything straight. Obviously, this person is coming. The feeling that everyone is looking at me. Suddenly, she noticed that Constantine was looking at her. You are the strange of them. You say nothing and just stare. And if you are too much to bend a stick, do you think they will just endure? Even I understand that this is not a game, but sincere feelings. Now these savages are configured to come up with something else. By the way, why does he continue to stare at me? Irene turned to Constantine. Do you want to say something? I just thought that killing you would be very simple. But on my part, it is better not to commit such meaningless murders. Why does he constantly tell me about the murder? The Duke asked. You have already accepted the consequences of your choice? It is a pity that it was not possible to show them in the worst form. Since you are strongly determined to accept anything, let me say that Felix Chamberlain could not hide at least one. Passion for you. Lemberg, smiling, looked at Irene. Impulsively arising desire, physical lust. Slowly and quietly, the brown-haired woman turned to the Duke, interrupting him. Do you feel better by stippling an innocently dead person? Even if people pronounce something with their mouths, this is not always human speech. Do you think I'm invented? I'm even starting to see him, Irene answered. I would understand, have your words meaning. It is amazing that you make me experience this. He probably was offended to die without telling you about his feelings. Since the interested person left us, this cannot be checked. Rin said Kaloges. Could you smile the Duke once? Claudia asked her idea. Do you think it's worth it? 3, you need to know the measure. Rin, the funeral will begin soon. Let's go. Claudia, I came to sincerely honor the memory of the deceased. Lucas called her again, but the girl decided to ignore everything. Therefore, I told you to disappear. Duke, everything collapsed because of you. He did not finish, asking a question. What? Where are you going? What are you going to do? Lemberg headed for the coffin. They say that he burned so much that it became difficult to identify him. He saved a little boy in a magical department. Poor Felix Chamberlain. Today I will be able to load about you. People who rise themselves will fall, and those who belittled themselves will rise. Felix, the former more transparent than water, and warmer than sunlight, he was distraught and said with his eyes, which became blackener than darkness, I will not avoid ways. Although I could not get rid of regrets, the day will come, and I will achieve faith and moral standards. A man who, along with death, announced that he would reborn, and also about what actions will now take. The deputy minister left us at such a young age? And what am I talking about? It seemed to me that he would live a long life, but God cherished them so much that he took to himself before. At this time, Irene turned her head, trying to find someone. Her gaze stopped. Found, the second prince, Cedric. Will I handle it? He is a man. I will conquer him, imagining that he is a girl. Reaching to him, she encouraged herself. I am a genius of tackle. The girl carefully pulled the second prince by the sleeve. Could you talk to me? Secretly, in a deserted place. The Cedric, taken by surprise, shuddered at the sight of Rin. Then he grinned cunningly in response. Suddenly, at the funeral, this happens for the first time. Of course, I am not as noble as a person as you might think. He leaned against the column. But you are not a good girl. Bring the affair on such a day. He looked with curiosity at Rin. The dumbfounded girl tried to digest the information heard. Having bulging her eyes, she asked herself, what did he just say? I bring the deepest condolences. Nothing connected us with him, but I heard a lot about him. Such loss probably saddened you. And why was he supposed to die? Many mourn about the loss of Felix. Just look, only 1 insects are teeming, waste oxygen. Once he released an insect that I was going to catch. Irene thought, what is he carrying? Did the bug bit him? Felix believed that even insect has a reason to live. The girl smiled. We do not know what kind of life he has. His death is sad, but this is the only outcome of his beliefs. I offered not to meet in order to say this. I heard that you have a talent to handle people. Irene was surprised. Cedric added, you say very beautifully, but I could agree without such long speeches to what you want. The second prince went to the girl and acquired her head. With a dismissal, Rin asked, do you know what I want? The guy took her hand. This is obvious. You wish, my love? Maybe she will not be sincere, but you can feel her. Yes, and your face is sweet. And I like these little lips. I just want to swallow. Irene was scared of his intentions. With a sharp movement, she pushed him away, screaming, go away! Do not dare to touch me as you want. I called you not for that. Cedric was surprised. Why? I needed you in a different way. The guy asked everything, Rin said. I saw an opportunity. Cedric did not understand anything. You behave like a bloodworm flying on fire, but at the same time, not rushing into the bee due to the fear of death. Do not scatter in such careless words. I can offer you a life that makes sense. I need you, Cedric asked in disbelief. Are you going to use me? I will make you useful. If you want to waste your life, give it to me, the guy asked. What nonsense! Is someone capable of leading this? Certainly. Take only a step, and you can't leave anymore. If you decide, come here. She handed him a leaf. Cedric froze for a couple of seconds, puzzledly glancing at a piece of paper. Then he held out his hand in response, saying, I'll take it. Cedric and Serev took the place of the second most important character. When Colleges was captured, he freed her from the palace, and he fled with her. However, a terrible end awaited him. Lucas caught them, and holding his brother by the hair, took out his sword. Are you going to entrust your fate to this insignificance? And after these words, Lucas, in the eyes of Close, pulled out the heart of Cedric. The guy saved Claudia, not because he liked her. He wandered around in search of the meaning of life, dreaming that one day he would lightly light up. Claudia was the only opportunity to freeze. Cedric needed an incentive to warm up, and it was a chance. Therefore, he will never be able to abandon my offer. A little later, Irene returned to the hall. Am I too late? Suddenly, someone turned to her. Are you the daughter of the Amber family? Having shuddered, the girl immediately answered, Yes, that's right. The Duke of Deflation spoke to her. Forever you rush everywhere. Sorry to make you wait for you to be busy. The man spoke slowly. Erica asked me. She said that for the first time in her life, she wishes something. What did you do to her? I just told her about another view of the world. The Duke frowned. Do you mean another view of self-will? Not really. Rather, not in self-will, but to freedom. After all, everyone should have freedom of choice, even if you regret it. The choice is my prerogative. You have no right to intervene. I arranged a commotion, as if you know what to do better. The lady also believes that she has the right to choose how to live. I would fight in its place to the very end, even if I lost. It is reprehensible to score the head of my daughter with this nonsense. I just hope that you will linger at Chamberlain for a long time. With these words, the Duke turned and went away. Irene immediately enveloped the vague mood because of this conversation. Loisting, the brown-haired woman, sat down in the same place where she was. Suddenly, another voice called out to the girl. She turned around. I have been looking for you for so long. Where were you? Strongly tired? Rin froze in a second. Sorry for making you worry. Today, I am all lazy to come across people. It was hard. But after I saw the cows, the forces were immediately added. Is it true? Then let's go eat something tasty? Returning to the estate, Irene again examined the map. Gilda members should have already contacted us. Why is there no news? It smells of great danger, Rin sighed. How to be? If you continue to look, will you come to mind some kind of decision? If not, then finish with this. Let's pack things. Fine. By the way, if you think about it, the trip went to 3. The Count needs to be protected, and Miss Olivia will be physically difficult. And yet it's good that we have a reason to leave for a long time. This is our first trip. So exciting. We are not going to have fun, Cleesis answered. And yet I am waiting for him. Half an hour later, Rin counted. I put the clothes. I took artifacts for self-defense. And the potion did not forget either. In order not to reveal your personality, you have to change the appearance. As far as I know, There are many types of potions. The girl thought. Maybe try to create them yourself? Kimberline's secret estate was already evening. It is so quiet and calm that it helps to concentrate well. But wasn't it better for you to have at least one servant? Irene Felix, sitting opposite, abandoned this venture. In general, I arrived to tell you something too personally. With surprise, the man began to open an outstretched box. Your face is very noticeable. I thought you better disguise yourself. I am really a dead person with a recognizable face. The guy uncorked one of the cones, breathing in the aroma. Then, he brought the bottle to his mouth, drinking the contents. It feels like a professor is checking my task. At that very moment, the guy turned pale. Who did it? How to be? It seems that I got some kind of garbage. Rin's head down guiltily. Rin answered. Is everything so bad? Felix calmly answered. For the first time, amazing. This is a final product after 10 unsuccessful attempts. He answered more intensely. For 10 attempts, you coped well. The brown-haired woman shone in a second and smiled, asking, Is it true? But if you drink it, there will be side effects. You are forbidden to drink it. You either scold me or praise me. Choose one thing. Felix asked. But how did you get the idea to make a potion? Rin answered. I thought yesterday and decided to try. Have you achieved such a result in one day? Have you studied anywhere? Certainly. Where did the girl who did not visit the academy learn to cook potions? I have no particular interest in this, so it's okay. I understand. The path that you go along will always be true. I'm not very good at praising the talents, but you have it. I ask, not worth it? You did not have to say it. These are not empty words. To create this, being a self taught is a talent. Irene asked awkwardly. Then should I do more? The guy answered. If you wish, I can sometimes teach you. I want to be useful to you. Do not deprive me of this joy. You are probably tired, but I really are very grateful to you. The feeling, as if the beauty of Felix's decline, is becoming stronger. Suddenly, the girl involuntarily lowered her gaze. Is this also the power of the demon? Clothing becomes cramped to him. If you fall in love with a guy with a good body, you want to play on it, like an harp. Remembering the words of Martina, Rin blushed and caught fire with shame. The surprised Felix asked, What suddenly happened to you? A few hours later, night came. The man tried to fall asleep. For more than half an hour, he spun in bed, without falling into a dream. Turning on his back, the reddened Felix suffered from the heat. Although the healing rate is great, fatigue does not stop accumulating. This is already in a row, the day does not give me clear rest. The body is so heavy, as if someone was sitting on me from above. Suddenly, he noticed Rin sitting on him in one nightie. Lightly opening his eyes, Felix tried to examine her. He slowly raised his trembling hand, holding out to the girl. With an uncertain movement, he touched Irene's cheek. The reddened and sweaty guy was lying, as if in delirium. He smiled at the brown-haired woman hanging over him, thinking, like a dream. Suddenly, the man said, You coped well with reincarnation, but it's time to stop there. He released Rin's cheek. Laraja, what's the point? Felix tried to reach the demon. However, the girl did not disappear anywhere and silently looked at him. Suddenly, she began to stroke his chest, calling his name. From the sight of Irene and her actions, the man was taken aback and blushed immediately. With a sharp movement, the guy put the brown-haired woman on the bed. He declared a displeased tone, I asked you to stop. The demon in the face of Irene laughed and said, What a rude. You wanted it. You can keep it in your arms every day. Picking heavily, Felix answered, It looks like you didn't hear me. Will you be pleased with my heart with a sacred sword? Will we die together? The man was serious in his ties. Thinking, Laraja laughed, answering briefly, Hypocrite, you want to stay with her. You pretend to be kind, and you boot inside. When she left, you inhaled her aroma for a long time, and even blushed. Your appearance does not coincide with the inner. You are worse than the demon. If you want to know why I'm doing this, Irene is right here. The next second, Felix abruptly opened his eyes. Turning his head, he thought, Of course it was a dream. Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice. I knew that. Rin was wetting a rag. Has a nightmare? Your view is unimportant. The man answered. I'm fine. And he thought, Sweet smell. Suddenly, he turned to the girl. Do you still have a sword? Felix pulled Irene to his place. I warned you. The guy unconsciously reached for her lips to kiss. But Rin stopped, asking, Do I measure your temperature? For some time they stood in silence, looking at each other. Your forehead is on. You look painful, so lying calmly. I knew that it would be so I brought a wet towel. The exhausted guy flopped onto the pillow, panting. He looks like a sharpened prince who fell asleep in an ice castle. Felix asked, If I die, will you be very sad? Irene roared, What are you asking me about? You survived even in that situation. If you die here, I will not forgive you. Now it seems to me that I will die. But if you are sad, then I can't. With a sad gaze, the girl looked at the guy. The next day, Felix handed Irene Mountain Statkopf, books and my studies that I have conducted since childhood. They only collect dust while they just lie idle. Suddenly, Rin changed her subject, asking, Did you sleep at all? The exhausted guy answered, Certainly, I slept well. Sorry, although I myself suggested, I can't teach you. Surprised, Rin emerged from the scrolls, asking, Did something happen? I would like to avoid meetings alone. I hope for cooperation. Clutching the notes presented, the girl answered upset. Fine. A few hours later, Irene met with Claudia. Kling spoke. This is a train developed by the Union of Mages and Alchemists. He looks better than it seemed. I lent him for the weight of the day. Suddenly, an idea came to the aristocrat. Can we buy it? Rin immediately reassured her. Hold yourself in your hands, Monsieur. However, Claudia did not stop. But I like him so much. Irene continued to argue. Sings, you are very excited. We will ride it just a couple of times. Wrap up is not good. A little later, they loaded and the train set off. As if we are going to an adventure or an expedition. Neither the hotel nor local goods, even the train with the ship is uncomfortable. There is nothing good in this, but you look satisfied. Certainly. I first go on a trip to the hinterland, Rin answered. You seem happy, so I'm glad too. If you are so happy, then I need to be even happier. But before that, I should make up for the lack of strength. After these words, Kalaji sluggishly went to rest in her compartment. Suddenly, a joyful girl awkwardly called to Felix. Perhaps you ate something sweet? Lollipop, for example. The brown-haired woman was surprised by such a question. Number, does it smell like sweet from me? The man slammed the book. Number I will stop in another carriage. While the guy got up, the girl asked, Why is it suddenly? With bewilderment and sadness, Irene looked at the man. Thinking a little, she abruptly grabbed his sleeve. She asked gently and innocently, Could you stay? Looking at Rin, Felix blushed, and his heart immediately pounded. The dumbfounded guy did not know what to do. His mind was clouded. While Irene held his hand, he thought, Too close. Felix grabbed his face, trying to quickly come up with something. Barely restraining himself, he spoke. Irene, listen. The worried girl remembered the words of the Duke of Lemberg. Passion for you. Is it possible that Felix will lust me? Would I hate it if you imagine our kiss? The girl imagined how their lips are slowly in contact. She blushed right there. I think I would not mind at all, Felix asked. Why aren't you listening? Rin pulled out his hand. The man turned around. Do not let me intimidate you by force. Not to mention nothing. The guy headed for the exit. Irene broke after him when he opened the door. At that moment, Felix pulled the pen, Rin thought. Do not leave. Why don't you take full responsibility? You tamed me, so you must be responsible. Stop me just as you always did it before. If you touch me, I will not break. Come on, put it. Felix's hand began to tremble more and more. He called out Irene. Then, abruptly and strongly, he pulled his hand out of her grip. If you do not want to see how I lose my mind, stop. What a good sound insulation. This happened with the wall, but no one came. Whatever I do here, no one will know about it. Rin swept in shock. Could you just behave softer? Grabbing his face again, Felix sighed heavily. Suddenly he calmed down. Do what you want, I lost. The desire you are talking about is my murder? The guy lowered his head and immediately gave a negative answer. In this case, you want to break my limbs, tear your eyes, and hang your heart? The dumbfounded man shuddered. How can I do this?